Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Spacing Out. I'm Jason McClellan.
And I'm Maureen Elsberry. Thank you for joining us.
We're here to get you caught up on some of the news stories that have made headlines recently, so let's get to it. A UFO appeared in the sky above Montenegro's capital city of Podgorica in southern Europe on Thursday, May 9th.
The sighting occurred at approximately 9 p.m. and was reportedly seen by several editors of a Gazeta News magazine. A photojournalist from the magazine captured photos of the UFO with his camera. Now, according to news website in Serbia, the brightly illuminated object changed shape, size, direction, and speed.
Local astronomer Igor Djakovic discounts the possibility of atmospheric phenomena or celestial bodies as a possible explanation. He stated, "These phenomena meteorologists usually describe by the term of ball lightning. Again, this term is pretty undefined and as such serves for various interpretations, so it is used to describe something that can fly even a few meters from the ground, hover in a place, and move back and forward, etc." But a local meteorologist ruled out the possibility that this UFO was ball lightning.
And according to In Serbia, the Flight Control Agency of Serbia and Montenegro, SMATSA, has not responded to requests for confirmation of any flying objects in the sky at the time of the sighting. The object still remains unidentified.
The number of applicants who have signed up to be considered for a one-way trip to Mars is nearing 100,000.
The not-for-profit company Mars One began accepting applications from astronaut hopefuls in April 2013. And according to a press release issued by the company on May 7th, more than 78,000 people have applied to the astronaut selection program in only the first 2 weeks of the 19-week application process. People from more than 120 countries have applied, and as the Daily Galaxy reports, most applications so far have come from the U.S., followed by China, United Kingdom, Russia, Mexico, Brazil, Canada, Colombia, Argentina, and India.
Although the reported 78,000 applications sounds impressive, it's technically an overstatement at this point. The application process required applicants to pay a fee and upload a video expressing why he or she wants to go to Mars permanently. New Space Journal recently interviewed Mars One CEO and co-founder Baz Lansdorp and asked him about the 78,000 figure. Lansdorp explained that in the application process, people register, they pay, they start filling out their information, they have the movie to make, the movie to upload. Lansdorp then clarified that the 78,000 figure represents the number of people who have at least done the first step. Mars One plans to establish the first colony on Mars in 2023. And searching for life on Mars will be part of the research these colonists will conduct.
Mars One will continue to accept applications until August 31st, 2013. The applicants will then be reviewed and narrowed down to 50 to 100 candidates. And the company explains that 4 rounds make the selection process, which will come to an end in 2015. Mars One will then employ 28 to 40 candidates who will train for around 7 years. Finally, an audience vote will elect one of the groups in training to be the envoys of humanity to Mars.
A man named Doug recently sent us a UFO video he shot on October 22, 2012 in Hoboken, New Jersey. The video shows a triangular object flying through the night sky. The video was recorded using a Yukon Pro night vision monocular with a mini eagle eye camcorder attached.
When asked if he thought the object could have been a plane, Doug responded, "It was not a plane in my opinion and appeared very high up, silent and no blinking lights. As you can see, it has an odd configuration, sort of backwards wedge with one in the lead. On close study, I think you can see through the object, so maybe it's several objects in flying formation?"
Details of the object are difficult to make out due to the low quality of the video. And Doug even stated, "I wish it was clearer, but the eagle eye is a grainy recorder."
Ben Hansen, TV producer and host of the SyFy series Fact or Faked Paranormal Files, saw multiple UFOs over Huntington Beach, California a couple weeks ago.
Earlier this week, we talked with Ben to hear about his interesting experience.
So Ben, thanks for joining us. We understand that on May 3rd, you and a friend actually had a very interesting sighting over Huntington Beach.
Yeah, we did. It was quite something. You know, this wasn't the first time that I've actually seen a UFO type object, but it was about 9:15. I lived down there in Huntington Beach and went for a run on the high school track. And the track, you know how most high schools have 2 bleachers on both sides and the ends are open, right? So the stadium lighting was not on, but across the street there was a parking lot, and to the south there's some baseball fields. So the mercury lighting, you know, of those parking lots, you could see the glow of it, but above us was dark, and I don't think we would have really seen this as clearly as we did if there had been lighting. So I finished up 2 miles. That's about as much as I run these days. And I sat down on the grass and was stretching, and she was finishing up her laps. And I looked up in the sky just almost directly above me, and there was a triangular object. But what was so strange, well, if triangular wasn't strange enough, there were no lights, there was no rotating beacon, there was no, marking of any sort that would make you think this is a commercial craft or anything. But there were three spheres, and they were bright white, but not. I wouldn't say they were illuminated, but they were kind of like I describe as a medicine ball, that you use at the gym, and they were on all 3 points of the triangle. And the inside of the triangle, though, I couldn't tell. And this sounds crazy. This is where where I get all these stories from people like, oh, it's advanced cloaking technology and whatever. I couldn't tell if I was looking at the sky up through the middle of the triangle, or if the bottom of it was just colored like the sky. Because all I saw were defined edges and these three spheres, and this thing was hauling. I mean, it went from over my head and went up towards where Main Street is, which I figured later out in Google Earth and everything, about a mile, maybe 3/4 of a mile, in less than 5 seconds. So, what I was just amazed, just sitting here looking at this thing. She finishes up, she's coming around the corner doing a lap, so I run up to her, I'm like, I think I just saw a UFO. And she goes, I know, I saw the same thing. And she started describing it to me. I said, okay, don't tell me anymore. Me being the investigator that I like to be, I told her to write it all down, before she gave me her full description, so we didn't taint what each other saw. And that's where she came up with it. Her description was that she saw more of what she described as, she says they weren't, I think I wrote in the report, Dixie cups. And she's like, no, they were the solo cups. That you put beer or something in, or they're colored, but these were white. And they looked like they were hanging down inside of the triangle. So the thing that I drew looked like it was a pool triangle that you rack the balls up in.
Mm-hmm.
And now I think as we've talked about it, she believes that maybe just because it was further away and it was almost disappeared, she was looking at a more flat perspective of it. It could have been those same three spheres, but as you tilt it, you see less of it. It looks like maybe there were more crammed into one area. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Now, like you said, her perspective was different than yours, but did she get the sense that it was a solid craft, or maybe translucent, like you said, possibly seeing through the object?
I don't think she got that sense.
Okay.
I think because she saw it in the last couple of seconds.
Right.
She didn't really know, like if it were colored any certain way underneath. She definitely agrees with me. There was no blinking. There was no marking lights. There was nothing of that sort. And from her perspective, it also looked like it was traveling quite a bit slower, almost hovering, but that was the last few seconds before it disappeared into the marine layer that we get out here, in California. Mm-hmm. And so what I did is I heard and got on the phone, and I called my father because my internet, I just was so excited. I couldn't type fast enough on my phone to get the internet to come up and look at all these things. And I said, please go to these aviation weather reports because I'm a pilot. And I know where to go to get the height of the clouds. And while he was doing that at 9:30, so 15 minutes later, I'm on the phone with him, and I look up in the sky, and going exactly opposite direction, I guess it was the same altitude, we saw two other objects. But these ones were not triangular shaped. If you look at the little drawing that I did on Photoshop, it looked as if they were the shape of fighter jets, but they were all white, and there were, again, no sound whatsoever, and they were going about the same speed, and it looked like one was slightly ahead of the other one, sort of flying in formation, and they were just hauling the other direction. Wow. So this time I'm like, okay, gotta go, and I hang up the phone, and I'm trying to put on video record, but not only were they already gone, by the time I got the video on, what most people don't realize, and I lecture about this, is that although we have cell phone technology and we have these great cameras, for the most part, they do not do well in low lighting. And if you go outside and try to film like a jet or something from far away, if you're lucky, you'll see a very, very dim light. But these things were not illuminated, and there was no chance, I believe, that they were going to be, caught on film. Unfortunately, I did not have my night vision with me, and so now I carry that everywhere I go to hurry and slip the phone into the adapter and, hit record.
I love that I think it was, you posted that on Twitter or something about having a night vision company, and there you were without night vision when you needed it. Yeah.
But luckily, this is almost one of those perfect sightings where you were able to, because of all your background and skills, not only give an extremely detailed report, but you were able to sort of rule out, and I like how you say this because I feel the same way, as you're more comfortable saying what it was not instead of what it might be. So what conclusions did you come to?
A lot of people want me to say, okay, it was alien technology or whatever. I have no clue. And I appreciate people who do that. I could tell you that it was not, I also fly both on our show and a part remote control helicopters. In this case, we have what's called an octocopter. And there are things that you could make in triangular shapes, but there is nothing that I know of that would go that fast and cover that much distance in such short amount of time. Not only but battery powered. Okay, we're talking about this had to be, with what we have, jet propulsion, type of a thing. That the military, of course, might have a drone that has that type of propulsion to move that quickly. And I'll admit, like, if you check, what I did is I took the heading, and if you follow that heading from where it was going, is almost exactly perpendicular to the beach. Now, if you continue that outwards, it runs right into Catalina Island, and there's a corridor right between two military operating areas. They're called restricted or warning areas in aviation, and they do a lot of military testing out there. And Catalina is known for USOs, a lot of activity and everything. So this thing is navigating probably by the land, comes straight over land, and if those other objects had anything to do with it, they came exactly the opposite direction back out to sea. So I think there's a good possibility we're looking at something military that is amazing technology, though. I mean, we're talking about silent, anti-gravitic propulsion probably. And if it wasn't that, these triangles have been seen since about the 70s is when they became prevalent. But again, who knows? Are they inspired by, advanced alien technology, or are we looking at something extraterrestrial?
Right. So have you heard of any other witnesses that might have seen this around that time?
Not this particular one. I have had some people tweet me that the big thing, which I also lecture about, is the difficulty in getting people to report. Mm-hmm. Because you're looking at an estimated 100 million people in the U.S. who've seen objects they can't explain, but only about, I believe it's, I want to say 14%, or maybe even less. No, 1 in every 450 people is what it was. 1 in every 450 people reports. Because they're like, where do I go? Mm-hmm. So that I was not hypocritical, I reported to MUFON, I reported to the National UFO Reporting Center. I did not call the police. I felt like, what are they going to do with this?
Right.
It's not like I even, want to go and get the report written out that I reported it. And I did not call, air traffic control or anything, which I probably could have done. But your question, I've kind of, what was it? The original question.
Just asking if you'd heard of any other witnesses who might have seen this. Yeah.
So what I did do is I started searching, and MUFON, someone had made a report a couple days earlier mm-hmm. in Los Angeles. They were saying they saw a triangle that I think it did have illuminated lights on the 3 points, but very similar description, and that it was in the vicinity of LAX. So for me, again, and I know people are going to be very skeptical about my descriptions of things. Well, maybe it was this, maybe it was that. I'm thinking with this guy, if you're in the vicinity of an airport, a lot of times you'll see just the marker lights on a plane, and you won't see the actual outline of the plane. And that's what I wanted to determine with him. So I'm talking with MUFON now to see if I can actually get in touch with that witness because we might be looking at the same thing.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, I know you have the full report, which again is very detailed and includes drawings on your website, which people can go check out at benhansen.com.
I do. There's a little link there on the bottom. You can go and check that out. If you want the MUFON link and the National UFO Reporting Center, I don't know. I'm pretty sure they've put theirs up. I know MUFON has it. The reason I put it back on my website was because I did fix a couple grammar errors. Not major, but I'm a perfectionist, so the description's the same. There were just a few errors, and once you put it into MUFON, it's like set in stone.
Well, it was an extremely thorough report, and so that pretty much answered all the questions I had, but I wanted to hear directly from you. So thanks so much for taking the time to share your experience with us. It's very exciting, and do let us know if you find anything more out about it.
Well, thanks, guys, and I encourage everyone else, please, send those links and reports to me if you have anything similar to this. I'm obviously trying to follow up on it. It's the first triangular. Well, actually, it's not the first triangular craft that I've seen, but this close, definitely. I have not seen anything this close to where you could make out edges of something, and then this phenomena of seeing, straight up through it, and seeing what it could be the sky or darker color. That just blew me away. So it was a lot of fun, and for my friend, it was the first time she'd seen anything.
Yeah.
And she knows because she's watched my shows, but she's like, well, yeah, this one I have no explanation for.
That's right. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
Thanks a lot, Ben.
Thank you, guys.
Well, Jason, I got to say this is really interesting because we kind of have a gold mine sighting here where we have someone who knows exactly how to investigate a sighting and check for all these conditions. And the fact that this is still an unidentified object is very compelling.
I think it's like an exciting sighting. I haven't been excited about a sighting for a while, and this one I think is definitely credible. You have a credible witness who knew all the steps to take. You're exactly right. We have a trained investigator here who went through the steps, had a corroborating witness, and documented everything that he could. Now, there's not too much information to go on, but he was able to write down everything that there was to write down. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of this sighting, and it's pretty exciting. I don't think we'll hear any more about it, but...
Well, he promised to stay in touch with it, so maybe we'll find out a little more. As far as the other sightings we've discussed in this episode, the lighted blob
in Montenegro,
I'm not impressed.
Well, yeah, I'm not either, and the difficulty with that one is like many UFO photos, where you can't really determine anything from the photos. What you can determine, and our friend Mark D'Antonio, MUFON's photo video analyst, wrote in response to this story and shared his opinion, and it's a good one. If you look at the photo, you can see that there is quite a bit of blur in the photo. The light that we're looking at, this UFO, is blurred. You also see some faint stars that are blurred, and in the bigger photo, you see the tree in the bottom left-hand corner of the photo is also blurred, showing that there was camera movement when this photo was taken. A long exposure caused the lights to blur. So we can't really determine what the shape of this object was.
And they came out saying that the object was changing in color, size, and speed, direction, but we only have this one photo that, again, like you said, is some lighted object blurred. So it's hard to make out. I
will point out that the experts who gave their opinions about this object were basing them off of the photo. They analyzed the photo and were looking at the photo, and that's when they determined that it wasn't ball lightning and things like that. So it was based on this blurred photo.
Okay, well, what do you think about this Hoboken Triangle?
The Hoboken Triangle is interesting to me. And I talked with Alejandro Rojas about this on Open Minds Radio, and we see a lot of these interesting night vision UFO photos, and I love night vision UFO photos. There's so many interesting things to see with night vision. And a lot of times, well, not a lot of times, but sometimes there are these triangles, these triangle objects that turn out to be birds flying at night in formation. I'm not convinced that's what this is in this case. Birds do look very strange, and we're not used to seeing that, birds flying at night. But in this case, these objects certainly, they appear to be illuminated. They're not as low as we typically see birds flying in formation at night when we see the night vision bird videos. This one is pretty high up, at least it appears to be. It's an interesting object. I think I've seen some people suggest it could be an airplane with a light out. I don't know, that's kind of a stretch, but it's difficult to tell. Again, it's a grainy photo. But Video. But it's interesting. I think it was a fun video, and I think people should check it out because it's difficult to tell what it is. We can't conclude anything from the video. Right. But I don't think it's birds.
I'm not totally sold on it not being a couple planes in formation. It's really hard to make out because, again, you have the contrast of the bright stars in the background, and it appears that you can see through that it's not one solid craft. And I thought that was a little bit interesting because, again, like Ben said, that the triangle object he saw, he couldn't tell whether it was solid or whether he was seeing through to the night sky.
Right.
But, yeah, I mean, at this point, remains unidentified.
Yeah, it's a good point. I agree with you. It certainly could be planes in formation, but we're just guessing, and it could be anything. But
yeah, and if anybody else has any sightings, make sure to send them our way at contact@openminds.tv.
All right.
Well, that's it for this episode of Spacing Out. Be sure to visit openminds.tv for all the latest news. And if you're a podcast listener, go to openminds.tv/radio and check out Open Minds UFO Radio with Alejandro Rojas.
We love hearing what you have to say, so leave your comment below, click the like button if you enjoyed today's show, and remember to subscribe to the Open Minds YouTube channel.
Thanks again for joining us today. I'm Maureen Elsberry.
And I'm Jason McClellan. We will see you in the future.